What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Dorian Show. I'm hoping you guys all have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. I'm actually recording this right after Christmas, right before New Year's, but you guys, doesn't matter for you guys. You guys will get this in 2024. I hope you guys are all starting strong on your New Year's resolutions. I don't know what you guys put on there. Want to be skinnier, go to the gym, etc., etc. I have no idea what people do these days. As you can see, I'm here by myself today, so we're gonna be doing another one of these finance podcasts. I hope you guys like these. Sometimes these are quite popular, but I haven't done one of these in a while. I think I might just be doing these going forward. I'm doing a new format. I read stories and then I write them out. I summarize them and then I give you guys my thoughts. So I hope you guys like that. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about China, and what the hell is going on over there. It seems like they're in a recession, and it seems like the Chinese government doesn't really care. And they just keep hammering. They keep hammering their own businesses. So it's kind of hard to know what's going on. You know what I mean? So recently, on Friday, December 22nd, Tencent, creators of League of Legends and 40% owner of Fortnite, lost $46 billion in market cap after China proposes new regulation on gaming, including rewards and bonuses for logging in daily, bonuses on spending, as well as enforcing spending cap in-game. This continues the Chinese government's campaign against gaming companies. In 2021, the Chinese government limited minors under the age of 18. I mean, that's redundant. To only gaming an hour a day from Friday to Sundays. So yeah, recently, as I said, by the time you guys come here, it's probably been a couple weeks, but dude, China's been having some hard times. Like they're in a recession. A lot of these housing businesses are defaulting on their bonds, and we thought and COVID has been terrible for them. They haven't recovered as well as everyone else, and by everyone else I just mean the United States. I don't really know what's going on in the world, but I think like last year the Chinese government kind of signaled that they're done kind of putting the hammer down on all these companies that they feel are going out of hand. But yeah, just last week, well, when I'm reading this last week, they just said like, oh yeah, all these gaming companies are making like a ton of money. Like we'd rather we lose a ton of money, lose a bunch. We'd rather these companies not make any money, investors to lose a ton of money than for having our youth or even adults to be addicted to gaming, which I think they see as like a huge problem. Gaming is like a huge industry over there in Asia. You guys might think it's big here. I don't know. I'm not too much of a gamer, but my brother is. But I think over in Asia, China, maybe like even Korea, they take it to another level. They have esports out there. Esports are out here too, I think, but I think they're like huge over there. They're like NFL huge out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of crazy that the Chinese markets are not doing well, and China's just like, yeah, we don't care. We're just gonna keep hammering you guys. So what else I got here? In the past few years, the Chinese has clamped down on its own industries as it appears to choose the perceived benefits of their population over profits. Starting in 2020, when government canceled the Ant Group's IPO, citing concerns over its lending practices. This comes after Alibaba's former CEO Jack Ma criticizing the government for being too slow when it comes to innovation. At that time, Ant Group was valued at $300 billion, but it's only currently worth $78 billion. Alibaba owns 33% of Ant Group. So this was like right during the pandemic, dude. Alibaba was huge, blowing up. This is like the Chinese Google, Chinese Amazon, as people were comparing to them, and they got like this huge ownership stake of a finance company called Ant Group that grew out of Alibaba, and it was going to be even bigger than Alibaba. And they were just like, "Yeah, dude, we're going to be rich." I own stock in Alibaba. I was super excited for the IPO. I still own it, but then for some reason, Jack Ma, who was a former CEO of Alibaba and creator of Ant Group, he just, dude, who's the Greek god that flew too close to the sun? I forgot. I'm dumb, so I forgot their name, but that's Icarus. So that's Jack Ma. Dude. He got so big, got so rich in China that he thought he could just like come out and criticize the Chinese government, and he gave this speech and said they were just like slow in innovation, and like right after that came out, he disappeared for a couple months, and then the government canceled the IPO and said like they're breaking all these regulations and they basically need to overhaul their whole business plan, which basically cut their valuation by a third. Um, but that's not all, guys. That's not all. In 2021, Chinese authorities destroyed the tutoring business, forcing tutoring companies to become nonprofits and have fee standards. They also said they cannot operate on weekends or holidays. 7 out of 10 kids starting from kindergarten receive tutoring in China. So that was like another one. I think one of the big issues about people wanting to invest in China is like they will come and chop off your legs out of nowhere. As you guys could already tell, even in the United States, right? There's this like stereotype that Asians are doing they do real well in school, et cetera, et cetera. And generally they typically do, but it's not because we're smarter, right? Take me for example, but really I think the culture in Asian cultures, they value education a lot. So it's all about tutoring, doing homework, studying, and you can see that in China, right? So it's like that culture just comes here, right? 7 out of 10 students is like doing extra work, extra tutoring in China, which is kind of an incredible number. But because of that, a lot of like children have a lot of stress, over performance, mental health issues. Obviously, when we talk about stress, self harm, self killing, suicide rates, all that got China concerned. Like they alongside many other growing economies, they're having a problem with having enough young people to replace the older generations, and the last thing they want is to like have a bunch of their young people themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they want them to like be less awkward and go socialize and have kids so they could, you know, continue their world population domination. But yeah, so I mean, so what do I think about investing in China? I clearly still do. Like I said, I own Alibaba. I gotta say, like investing in like Chinese companies are kind of like the cute girl that you have a crush on. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like really nice to you, and she got like, like she got. I don't even know how to say it. Like I'm trying to make this comparison as hard. Like they're like a beautiful girl that's really nice to you. They have growing earnings. Really tiny costs and wide margins. You know what I'm saying? And just when you think like you're gonna go ask her out, you find out she has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend's the Chinese government, and he does not like that the girl's been being so nice to you. So now, for some reason, you can't make money tutoring kids anymore, and they're gonna throw the girl into a coal mine. That's what it's like investing in Chinese companies. And yeah, I still own some Alibaba, and I don't know if anybody that watches this follow Alibaba closely. I tend to get more diverse viewers when I talk about finance. So maybe a lot of you guys are actually looking up if you guys should stay in Alibaba, or you guys should buy more, or you guys should sell. Um, For me, I'm definitely gonna hold this company. Um, I don't think I'm gonna think about selling. I possibly might be buying more. Just looking at their earnings, I might put some of this on screen. Like their before the so I'm compared to before pandemic, which was like 2019, 2020. Like their revenue was growing like huge, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like even down to like 2021, they were growing revenues by like 40% every year, which is insane. Um, Obviously their cost was also going up, but their margins were good at that time, above 20%. But once the pandemic hit, everything kind of, hit the fan, as they say, you know what I'm saying? Like, revenues were growing. In 2022, revenues grew 19%. Their year ends in March, though. So it's like 2022 ends in March for them. How they do their financials, which is weird. So that's like still like not too crazy part of the lockdown, right? These still getting carryovers from when it first started. I think 2022 is when the pandemic really hurt people, and all these companies were starting to lose money. Because in the beginning of the pandemic, people were just spending like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Especially like on Amazon, eBay, and I'm sure the same thing was happening with Alibaba because people were just at home and they need to order stuff. But yeah, revenues were growing super fast, and in 2023 it only grew 1%. So I'm like, oh shoot, which makes sense. That doesn't look good. Their margins crumbled. It was up before the pandemic. It was like 21%, and now it's down to 2023 was down to 8%, which is not good for a tech company that doesn't own any. They don't own any like stock, right? They don't carry stock. The whole thing about Alibaba is like they're just a platform for people to sell and trade, kind of like eBay, but they don't actually hold any goods. So their margins should be wider. Um, their income's been slowing down too. In 2019, their net income grew by 31%, and then this past year, 2023, it only grew by 17%, which is not very good as a company, as a tech company, I should say. I'm sorry, I'm reading off my phone. I actually wrote these up and then I'm reading off of it. I really should hire someone to be my producer so they could give me this information on the screen, but I'm poor and I just don't got a space for it, honestly, guys. Anyway, but so far it's for in Alibaba's business, for whatever reason, like 2024 is actually going to end for them soon because it ends in March. So we're due for third quarter's results soon. But so far in 2024, everything's starting to look up. Margins are growing again. This is just from the past 6 months for 2024. So this is like March to September 2023 for them. Things have picked up already. Margins have grown to 13.5% compared to 8% last year and 7% the year before. I mean, it's not great compared to other software companies, but they are turning this around. What is good though, what I have here, I had this over here. For this year, the revenues are already for this year. Just this year alone, they've already made more money than they did last year, if that makes sense. Or they're just as much. So in 6 months, this past 6 months, they made just as much money on their bottom line, their net income, as they did in 2023, and they already made more than 2022. And this is very exciting, especially because there is still 6 months to go, and they are already at where they made last year. So at this rate, hopefully they're going to double. And I think those numbers are probably good enough for people to want to buy more, which is why I think I might have to pick up some stock. You know what I mean? Currently, right now, Alibaba is about 70. Dang, dude, I need to take better notes. I'm about to fire myself. They're currently about like 70 something dollars right now. I think at all time high it was at $300. Um, it's $77 right now. 77, sorry for mumbling. And it was all time high just from like 2 years ago. It's 300 plus. So there's a long way to go if it will ever hit the high again. I'm not saying it will or it won't. It's kind of hard to say. I think some people are still scared about how China will treat them if Ant Financial will ever IPO and go public. The last things I've read about is like it's going to IPO soon. So even if it's not worth hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, it's still worth like $80 billion, which I think will help Alibaba's bottom line once they go public. Other concerns people are having, I guess, is there's just more competition in the e-commerce side of stuff. We've heard of Temu and Shan, which is blowing out right now in United States. Then they're going to compete directly with Alibaba as well as in China. And that's a little worrisome because their e-commerce at Alibaba still makes up about 60% of all revenues, which is kind of worrisome. However, the growth is still pretty good. There's in their domestic e-commerce growth with Tmall, they're still growing about 8% a year. Sorry, this is 8% from last year. From last year, they're growing 8%. International e-commerce is growing by like 47%, which is still massive growth comparing to last year. So maybe that will go down in terms of their revenue due to the crazy competition. But Alibaba does a lot of stuff. Some people might say they do too much stuff. Other people are worried about their cloud performance, which makes up about 11 to 12% of their total earnings. Their year-to-year growth was only 3% so far in the first 6 months compared to the 6 months of last year. So that's like barely any growth at all. And cloud was supposed to be the next big thing for Alibaba. And maybe people are thinking they've missed the boat. They have a lot of competition for cloud. Also, they're actually competing with American companies like Microsoft. I know is going out there to China to provide cloud services. And a lot of Chinese companies actually prefer to have American cloud companies hosting their data instead of Chinese companies because they know how Americans here view that. We Americans here we're like, well, we'll never use data centers in China because their government has access to all that information. They're going to come after us. So even Chinese companies they kind of want to shed that, right? Even though I don't think they could do anything. Even if they host with their data on Google, like China could just like hit up the company themselves, not Google, but like to the company, like, hey, give us your data. And they pretty much have to do it. So I think it's just to make people feel safer, even though no one is safe. So that's concerning. Cloud. The logistics part of their logistics is doing really well. It only makes up 10% of their company's earnings. However, is growing at a 29% rate. And I don't know if I think logistics is one of those things, even though you think it's easier to do, it's kind of like a high barrier to entry. You need a lot of like data and power to kind of build out these networks. And I think Alibaba probably has very strong logistics in this area of logistics. That's why they're growing at 29% year over year. So that's a bright spot. They also have food delivery, ticket buying, like airline tickets and rideshare. I vaguely remember them like maybe buying part of like a rideshare company back in the days, food delivery company back in the days, and that's growing by 22%, which is nice. Only makes about 6.5% of their total earnings. I think this is one thing China does really well, like, and what Alibaba did really well in the past is they just straight up copied like American companies that are doing well, you know what I mean? And they just They basically copy what they're doing here and bring it back to China and make money off of it. I think the last year or so, a lot of these delivery service, not even delivery service, but Uber for sure has like learned that they can make a lot of money throwing up ads on their rideshare on the Uber app. Um, I don't know if Alibaba's doing that yet, but that's another way they could grow their earnings for that segment. Um, they also own a digital media company. It's 2% of their earnings, but it's growing at 21%. I don't know about creating content as a way of making a living for these big companies. Look, I'm creating content for free. I'm losing money, guys. And I think just from what we've seen in the U.S., like Disney's just been eating like a big pile of doo doo, just spending a ton of money making content. They're just losing money. So I don't know how I feel about that. Revenue growth is 21% for their digital media, but it's a small percentage of what they do. Maybe they will give it up or continue growing it. I don't know. Alibaba might be doing too much, as some people might say. And then they have like a other segment. I think there's like healthcare related and all this other stuff that I don't understand, which I probably should before I'm putting my ignorance onto the internet. And it makes about 12% of their earnings. So, and I don't think they even include any of Ant Financial's earnings on their balance sheet. So I think it's cheap. I think obviously all Chinese companies are cheap compared to the US, but I think Alibaba is cheaper than the rest. Cheaper than Tencent, cheaper than Temu or whatever, all these other JD, all these other companies in China. And then currently Alibaba's price to earnings ratio is about 10.9 or 11 PE compared to other tech companies. And this is just a trailing 12 months, you know what I mean? And if they continue to do as well as they're showing in the recovery, that PE should be dropping if the price stays the same. I don't know if Alibaba will ever hit $300 anytime soon, especially because China has just been hitting every sector, you know what I mean? Tech sector, e-commerce, tutoring, gaming. It's just bad, dude. It's very unpredictable what China will do. But you know, maybe it's because I already own the stock and it's hard for me to let it go. But I'm already down like $12,000, which is a lot. But you know, I'd rather lose the rest of. I think it would hurt less if Alibaba goes to zero than for me to sell it at a loss and then for it to jump back up. I really think it does have what it takes to jump up. You know, Jack Ma's not the CEO, but he's still around. People really respect him. You know, even though Elon Musk said he was dumb, basically, I think maybe like technology wise, like Jack Ma's not as good as Elon Musk. I think that's pretty clear. But he's a really good businessman. I think he knows how to make money. So yeah, I don't know. I think this stock could easily go to like $150, honestly, within the next year or so. So I'm holding. And if there's any like giant crashes, like a 10% crash in a day, I think I might be adding more, guys. And hopefully I'm not making the wrong decision. So tell me what you guys think in the comments below about Alibaba. I think I'm going to end it there. I wanted to talk about something else, but it was getting late in the house. And I need to take care of my dad because my whole family got the Rona. Anyway, I love you guys. I am back. I'm going to do these more consistently. I think I'm just going to have to do more finance stuff and less podcasts with guests. So I don't need to rely on anybody as much. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.